good blessed Saturday evening, May the 29th, 2021. It's about 6:29 p.m. Greet everybody with a universal greetings of peace and the blessing of God be with you. It don't matter what your nationality is. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white. Don't matter what your religion is. Today, I just want about this being Memorial Day. Everybody else celebrating Memorial Day. I want to celebrate Memorial Day for my son. First, I want to show y'all some candles that my oldest daughter, Jennifer, had got. We had these, had mine since I believe March, when we went up there to have a candlelight vigil for him in Humboldt Park on the northwest side, an area that he grew up in. If you can see that picture of him on there. And it got in loving memory of Brian Lamont Johns, September the 27th, 1995 to March the 19th, 2021. I'm making this here not just in his memory, but to ask everybody that's watching and share this with somebody and ask them what I'm finna say. Do it make sense? And do you say suicide or do you say murder? Now you remember when me and his mother went down to Carbondale, Illinois, and his other brother and my two youngest daughters, and met with the commanding lieutenant for the Carbondale Police Department, and an individual that identified himself as a coroner, the county coroner for Jackson County. How you doing, brother? For Jackson County, but I found out later, but he was a deputy coroner. He wasn't a doctor, wasn't a medical doctor. And I tell you, from experience working on the ambulance, I'm not a coroner nor a doctor, but he was incompetent or just didn't want to do his job because it was a black man. You see what I'm saying? Known to use drugs, known to probably be homeless every now and then. You see what I'm saying? Known to have been in prison before, known to be around 99.99% whites and dealing with white females. And I'm gonna leave it at that for right now. But they told me my son committed suicide before the toxicology test was even back. I don't even know if they had took one at this time. The commanding lieutenant that was talking to me, I know something for a fact. On March the 24th, 2021, I went to the scene after talking to them. And this commanding lieutenant that told me that my son committed suicide, he hadn't even been on the scene. I don't even know if he's been on the scene since then. But my son allegedly died March the 19th. That's when they found him. But they said, the pathologist told me that it was she seen a 32 on the belt. One of the other individual law enforcement officials told me it was 42 inches long. And he said the belt had these type of buckles. And it was somewhat this type of material. Now go down to the end of this, and you can see this is 42 inches long. Thanks to my son-in-law, he had a belt. It was a little bit longer, but I cut it into 32 inches. Now, you remember, look, every time, I get this real good. Every time I'm out here doing something, this what happens, y'all. This is the sergeant of the Charleston, Missouri Police Department. He has look at it, one of his lights is out. You think I can write him up? He has the oldest vehicle on the police department. He's the only black on the police department. The chief of police and the captain of the police, one of them hand that vehicle that you just seen down to him, and they got newer Expedition and I believe a Tahoe. But that's another story. One black, but they said Carbondale don't have any blacks on their police department. I'm gonna leave that alone. But anyway, you seen 42 inches. We got this here mark right here because when I put it around my neck, it's gonna take 16 inches off of that 42. And then I got this mark right here because I believe it's gonna take about 12 inches when I tie it. To hang yourself, you have to have one part around your neck and your other part got to be tied. So we're going to take this here again. I know some of y'all seen the illustration, but I'm going to go even farther to show y'all how I seen him in the body bag. Okay, I want to make sure I got it tight. Could you see where the thing is at?
It's like right on it.
Is it on it?
Yes,
sir. Can they see it?
Like, yes, sir. You can see
I'll
the
put
cut.
your hand and let them see it. Y'all
Right
see
here.
where that's at? Okay, I'm finna take that loose. I'm gonna take that loose, make this tight as possible. And y'all see what we have? Actually, we have almost 16, well, we'll just say 16 inches on the head. Do your math now. I might be a little off, but you take 16 off of 42, it's gonna leave 26 inches. Now, we got 26 inches left. I think we're gonna have about 26. You see what we got? We got about 26 inches left. Y'all see that? Okay. Now, out of that 26, we're gonna have to be able to tie this here. Now, we're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming it was tied in 2 knots, but we're gonna give them 1 knot. How about that? Even though we know 1 knot probably ain't gonna hold, we're gonna give them 1 knot. Okay, you see where I'm at with the 1 knot? Let's see how many inches we got there. It's right by that mark. Okay. Pull it out. Actually, no. Actually, it was this mark. Let's see what this have here. Let's see what that one there have. That's about 13 and a half, but we're going to give them this one here. We're going to give them this one here, which is shorter. That's 12. That's about 12 inches right there. Now you take, this is 16. From here, we're going to take the 12 and see what we got left. The 16 was right here. So now we're going to take 12 inches. Now here's the 12 about right here. About right there, baby.
Yes, sir.
Here's the 12 about right here. If y'all can see it. Now, if that's the 12, this the 16 around his neck, we're going to just use a scenario. Uh-oh, let's get back so they won't think I'm cheating them.
You want me to hold it?
This is your 12. If this is your 12 right here, then we're going to see what we got left. You see what we got left? About almost, 13 and looking like about a half or 2/4. This is all we got left. All of this here all of this here is with the hanging and with the tying. This would just be left right here. Now, if this is all that's left, we just say hanging. If this is all that's left, that put not just one, but 2 or 3 red flags. But now, while we tying that, let me see if I can tie that back while I'm holding money, because money was in his hand. Okay, say he done tied it with his hand. Anyway, he done tied it. I don't know how he gonna stand and balance himself. But let me show y'all, when I looked in the body bag, how my son was looking. Now, the individual that told me he was the Jackson County coroner for Illinois, Jackson County coroner, found out he wasn't the coroner, he's a deputy coroner. He showed me money that he had in the body bag. He said it was balled up in my son's hand. It was balled up in his hand because rigor mortis set in. And to get the money out, he had to pry it out. And my son's hand was probably about like this here when I seen it. And on this hand, it was a straight cut. Like you see this here, a straight cut. A straight cut on that. But this is how my son, I want you to see the way my mouth and my eyes is. My son's eyes was wide open. His tongue was like this. Is part of my tongue out?
Yes, sir. I can't like rotate it because it's gonna mess up.
Oh, you ain't got to rotate. You can see it?
Yes, sir.
My son's eyes was open. This hand, go down here, it was down, and I could see the cut on it. Still had his underwear on, still had his pants on, still had his socks on. And the right hand with the money in it was like this. Now, what do that tell anybody with common sense? If you hung yourself, your hands and legs is going straight down. He had to be dead already if his hand was balled up with money and the corner had to pry it out and it was up like this. You can tell that to somebody else. I'm just gonna say this here. Those of y'all that don't think racism don't play a part in certain cases, tell me why today is 71 days in the Southern newspaper having printed my son. They printed these marches that they're having. They print when the Suzuki's win something in that area. You see what I'm saying? They probably even print when a deer get ran over. But my son was a human being, a black human being, that they haven't showed no consideration whatsoever. You see what I'm saying? Now tell me how, when I was laying down there, why would my son's eyes be open like that? Why would his hand be balled up where the corner have to pry it open? They didn't want us to look at it. The mother couldn't. My 2 youngest daughters wanted to. I was going to let them at first, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't because I didn't want them to see. Then he had a bruise on his head, and guess what they told me? Oh, that might have happened when he hung himself, and at the bottom, where the metal thing is, he might have hit his head. They assuming all this shit. Just like they said with the Praveen case, the Indian guy in 2014. They claim he died in the woods because he was drunk. Found out he didn't have nothing in his system. You see what I'm saying? But they found out 4 years later, a white guy, parents must have had money. According to the way they saying, he was making drug deals over the phone in the jail because 4 years later they arrested this white guy. But then again, white guy had an attorney that represented R. Kelly, and some said he was a state's attorney, I think, for 30-something years in that Carbondale area, or he had connection with these people. A jury found him guilty. 12 people found him guilty. So you can take a bench trial, which the judge should be the tear factor, or you can take a jury trial, and the jury, the 12 people, is the tear factor. The tear factor was the 12 people who found this guy guilty of murder and robbery 4 years later. But when it was time for him to go get his time, this judge, on the technicality, threw it out. How can you throw this here out? The connection with the lawyer, connection with his family. At a $1 million bond, and I think his family, or $100,000, however, he paid 10%. I think he paid $10,000. I don't know if he paid $10,000 or what he paid, but he paid $10,000 or more to get out. And while he was in jail, they monitored his phone calls where he was telling his sister and his girlfriend or somebody about getting drugs. But why I'm telling y'all this here, if this Praveen family was able to had money to get another pathologist that countered what the pathologist said in Carbondale, and they still threw the case out, I can imagine how that family feels. But you see, it's too much stuff going on when it comes to black folks. And I know the area my son hanged out was 99.99% white. And I think the feds and I think the Illinois State Police should get a warrant to go on my son's Facebook and see where he was hanging out. I think the state, the feds, and the Illinois State Police should get that entire bill. Not just let the Carbondale police take a squab of just this and send it to them. What about all of this? What about my son's drawers? What about his pants? What about his socks? What about his shoes? What about his t-shirts that was found all the way around the corner on the 3rd floor somewhere else? Don't that leave suspicions? It leads suspicions to a person that stands for justice. But when you have individuals like on Wednesday, January the 6th, 2021, in Washington, D.C., hey now, when you have individuals like that, you had Air Force individuals, you had police, you had state police, you had National Guards, you had senators, you even had the President of the United States. Black folks say this here, we racist. But when white folks say it and storming the White House, you see what I'm saying? They ain't racist. But if you getting all these claims, protesters about all these police killing these blacks and then try to lie about it, how do I know y'all ain't trying to cover up something about my son? Show me anybody that hung themselves and their hand is like this here when Rick and Morty set in. That's what my Memorial's Day is about. Brian Lamar Johns. That's who it's about. I ain't talking about it. I ain't scared to put it on my page. If you his friends, you say you're his friends in Carbondale, let me see. I ain't talking about y'all that just met me because I know y'all spread him. I'm talking about y'all was trying to help him. Y'all talking about y'all his friends in Carbondale, black and white. Why wasn't none of y'all on his Facebook as friends? Oh, that's right, ain't no benefit there. I'm going to leave it at that, y'all. Everybody that black ain't necessarily kin. Everybody that black ain't necessarily friend. You see what I'm saying? Like the brother said in the George Floyd march in Carbondale on the 25th of May this year, he said that Harriet Tubman couldn't have made it to all of them safe houses if some of them people wasn't white, especially when she was trying to free the slaves. What's wrong today? Harriet Tubman said it, and I know she giving me power to the people. keep the movement going. She said, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if I can only convince them as slaves. They were slaves. Here in Charles, Missouri, I'm not scared to tell you. Everybody down here that call themselves black leaders here in Charles, Missouri, they are still slaves, mental slaves. They don't stand on nothing. They wouldn't dare march for George Floyd or nobody else. Now let a white person get killed, they'll be having candlelights, vigils all over the place. Peace be still.